Hello friends, welcome to today's video. I've not done a full face of first impressions really ever on my channel because I don't really have the funds to go out and buy like an entire face of new makeup, and I tend to rely a lot on beauty boxes, BoxyCharm, Ipsy, and rarely would you get all of the products you needed to do a full face. But I had so many products coming in when I was subscribed to both BoxyCharm boxes that I actually do have a full face of first impressions here to do, including like foundation, concealer. Now there's two products in here that I have used previously, but I've never actually talked about on the channel, but everything else is going to be a brand new experience for me. So I know I enjoy watching these videos on other people's channels, just seeing their reaction right away to how products perform, feel, smell, all of that. It is a first impression, so as far as like wear tests and stuff, you're not going to know that, but you will get sort of just my first off-the-cuff impressions. I'm going to put my hair up and then we will get started. Let's get just a touch more zoomed in too. My skincare routine has been done, so I do have some moisturizer on, but I'm going to add some extra moisture to it with this product, which you're not going to be able to see on camera because I can barely read in person the white on very light aqua blue. But this is the Tarte Quench Hydrating Primer, and it's part of their Tarte C collection. So let's see how it is. Terrible joke. Okay, so it's sort of a translucent bluish kind of color, with a very faint, fresh kind of smell. So it's very much like a gel water kind of formula. I feel like a little goes a long way there. And also if my hairline looks extra white, it's two reasons. First of all, it's my gray roots growing in a little bit, but also I've been using a lot of mineral sunscreen when I go out and go jogging, go out and do exercise. So I find it's harder. I don't actually wash my hair every day. And it's really hard to get the sort of sunscreen out along my hairline, but it's also really important to put the sunscreen there because I have burned along my hairline before and it's not fun. So I thought this is going to take a little longer to sink in, but it actually feels like it's sunk in pretty well. It's leaving a rather not tacky feeling, but you know when it feels like it would sort of grip onto foundation. So it does have that grippy feeling, which I don't mind at all, but still does feel quite hydrating. My mirror is a little janky. It's one of these like two-sided mirrors, but the convex side I at one point covered over because I almost lit my couch on fire by leaving this out in the sun and the sunlight coming in and then concentrating down onto my couch. So I covered this up a little bit. My apartment now, I don't need to worry about it, and it's kind of come torn apart. But anyway, if you see that, that's why that's like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this has done like anything for my pores, although it doesn't say it's going to. Although, you know, they're not looking super huge or anything. So let's go on to the next step. For foundation, I have a very tiny sample, but it should be more than enough, of the Dior Skin Forever Undercover. This is an older foundation. I believe I got this as part of like a Sephora extra when I was ordering something online. And this is in the shade 010, which is ivory. And it does say that it's going to be 24-hour wear full coverage. So let's try that out. I have here a brush to try it with, but I also, this is somewhat of a first impression. I picked up a new beauty sponge and I got this from Shoppers Drug Mart for my Canadian viewers. This is the Quo Beauty Sponge. I saw somebody saying it was a dupe for a beauty blender. I still feel like the beauty blender has a little bit more porousness to it than these tend to have, but this is nice and soft and did puff up a lot when I got it wet. So let's try both sides of my face. Brush, sponge. Ooh, this is ivory. This is looking a little dark for ivory. I'll start out with a little. I am more of a medium to light coverage kind of girl, so if it's a full coverage foundation, I tend to have a light hand with it. Let's try it with the brush first. Yeah, this looks very yellowy on me, but that's okay. I can see how this would be full coverage if you like went in with a lot of it, but it does like sheer out pretty nicely. It does have Like, considering that I believe this is the lightest shade, it's pretty yellowy, but it does look pretty flawless. Like, my pores, and I'll zoom in once I do the other side of my face, are looking like totally minimized. I feel like I can make this a little bit brighter. There we go. Let's try with the sponge. I guess I'll use the flatter bottom part. This is definitely not as soft as a beauty blender. Oh, and also definitely does not feel like it's blending as well. You know, guys, I have to say, I've tried a number of sponges that aren't the Beauty Blender, like actual Beauty Blender brand, and they just, none of them have compared so far to the like actual Beauty Blender. I think that looks fine. It's like slightly lighter coverage. I think I prefer the brush. Do a tiny little bit more on this side of the brush just to even out a bit. I'm sure I'll still use that sponge, but it's just, to me, it feels like the Beauty Blender has a little bit more of a porous part to it, whereas that feels like it almost has like a membrane around the outside. So it feels like it's not like, I don't know, absorbing and meshing it into my skin in quite the same way. So this is pretty and looking very flawless. On first impression, I'll say that it looks like a number of other foundations that I put on at first. It's not wowing me. It has a little bit more of a matte look than I would generally look for. Let me zoom you in and show you. So my freckles are still showing through, which is nice. And it's not highlighting my pores. It doesn't look like it's gathering around my mouth or in my creases. It just looks like it's evened everything out and given a bit of coverage, but I do feel like I'm looking a little more yellow than I would normally. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of concealer. And for this, I'm going to be using the Morphe Concealer. I received this a while ago. This one is in, what shade are you in? C1.25, I think it is. I've used this. I find it's fine, but it's made to be one of those concealers that you like go in with, I believe, and that's not how I like to do concealer. I'm very much a natural look kind of girl. I want people to be close to me and looking at my skin and think that's skin. And it also smells very much like a Sharpie, which I find a little, I mean, whatever, it's just the scent. But I will just take a little bit on my hand and just dab it into where I want it. And I don't have super dark circles under my eyes, so I don't have to worry too much there. I'll probably want a little bit more than that, but I just try to target right where I want it to be. If anything, I am more concerned about the texture and like the bags under, not bags, but like the creases under my eyes than like dark circles or discoloration. I also have one freckle right there that, like, if I was actually trying to cover, would take so much to do. I don't find it's as hydrating a concealer as some others that I've used. Even everybody talks about it all the time, but the Maybelline Age Rewind concealer is so gorgeous under my eyes, and like if I use just a bit of it, just enough to cover the circles, it feels like, you know, I barely need to set it. It just looks beautiful and doesn't crease. And a lot of times I won't set it. If I just use enough to cover a little bit of like the darkness that's under my eyes, then it just looks a lot lighter and isn't going to look heavy if I don't use a lot of powder or any powder under my eyes. What I will do is just, I have the tiniest little pimple right there, which is right where my mask was rubbing against my face when I was at work. And I know it's not like the best to do, but I'm gonna use a little bit of this as my eyeshadow base. So I don't have a huge amount of like redness or discoloration to cancel out. I think that's good. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of concealer like around my nose if it's a little red, but I think this is good. So I will say that if you are somebody who wants to order from Morphe, I think it's a fine concealer. It's not like up there as one of my top ones, but you're not going to be upset with it either. It doesn't do anything terrible. And you know, it seems to play well with anything. It doesn't ball up, it doesn't get funny. It's a pretty standard kind of concealer. We are going to powder next because almost everything from here on out is powder product. I might try to use a liquid highlighter, but we'll see. The only powder that I have to use I've not tried before is this one from VC Collection. It's loose setting powder number 117. I'm hoping that it's not going to be too pigmented or yellow. It's gonna give it a shake to get some of the powder out of the little holes. Ooh, that came through fast. That also looks quite a bit yellower than I would like it to look, but we'll see. We'll go in pretty light to start with. Okay, that did it didn't make me look any more yellow. There is absolutely no scent to it, and it does seem to do a quite nice blurring job. I am going to use it to set under my eyes just so I can see how heavy it looks when setting concealer. It did seem to add the tiniest bit of texture, sort of right there. Just a touch more than the other side. Not terrible, but not what I would usually go for. So it definitely didn't brighten. It maybe added like a little touch more yellow, but I mean, this is probably not 100% my shade. This is 117, so I assume there are lighter shades. I tend to go for lighter or translucent, but it did make my skin look pretty, you know, airbrushed, which is nice. I really can't see my pores or anything at all right now, and it's not making anything look incredibly heavy. Like, I've seen much heavier powders under my eyes. I do think this is also a very inexpensive powder, so it feels like, sorry, just making sure it's not creasing. I'm not sure I would use this again as an under eye setting powder, but I think it's a perfectly serviceable powder for the rest of my face. Now we're going to add a little bit of color back into my face. I didn't have any bronzer to do a first impression with, which is interesting, but I also don't use bronzer that much in my day-to-day life. But I do have this blush. It's gonna be very pink, I think. This is the Phase Zero Makeup Cotton Candy Blusher, and it does look like a fairly cotton candy kind of color. So let's get this on my cheeks. Ooh, I just put a lot on there. I wonder if this is gonna be like super pigmented. Okay, I'll just, yeah, I kind of went in a little bit there. I've been used to using cream blush lately, and what I usually do is go in just after my foundation and concealer pretty hard with the cream blush, and then I powder it all down and blend it. So I've been getting used to having a pretty heavy hand with blush. That's okay. I'm really enjoying the high up on the cheeks, onto the nose kind of blush look. It just makes me look a lot younger, summerier, fresher. You know what, that's pretty cute. There's no like shine or anything to it, or, you know, dewiness. Everything's looking, you know, pretty matte at this point. It's a little bit more of a pink than I would normally use for my tone, but I think it's cute. Oh, and this brush is pink at the end, so it's not the blush that is making the entire brush pink. Yeah, I think that's nice. If it was me, I would go for, as I said, not quite as like cotton candy blush kind of color, but I think if that's what you're looking for, this is quite cute. I have been enjoying blushes more lately that do have a bit of glow to them, just because I think it adds that sort of like fresh look that I've really been liking lately. But that can always be added on with highlighter, with setting spray. You know, it doesn't have to be in the blush. I've just found some really pretty ones lately that do add that nice glow as well. I think we'll do highlighter at the very end, so let's do a little bit of eye makeup. I'm not doing anything with my brows today. My brows are a little crazy at the moment. I have not had a brow wax since the very start of March, I guess. I have plucked them here and there, but not so much recently, and I'm trying to underpluck rather than overpluck, just so I don't do anything I regret later on, but I'm just gonna let my brows be my brows today. I am going to play with the Moroccan Spice palette from Fenty Beauty. I'm not gonna be doing any kind of like crazy look today just because that's not what I'm into. And why do looks in a way that I'm not into? I think it's a pretty palette. I don't love the way it's laid out. I know people always try to do things that are different, but there's just so much empty space around the outside of the palette. I'd prefer if it wasn't the diagonal and it was more compact of a compact. There are some, I mean, that blue is gorgeous. We'll see. But there are some like pink and red tones in here. And I will say that when I've been doing my makeup, the way that I wear it to feel the way that I feel best, is that the way of saying that? What I've been doing, as I said, is going in very strong in the blush, and then I'll take just a little bit of blush onto a big fluffy brush and fluff it into my crease a little bit, and maybe a little bit of highlighter on my lid. So the same pink sort of carries over. So it's a kind of, not monotone kind of look, but yeah, it all sort of ties together. So I might play a bit in the pinks that are in here. We'll see. I think to start with, I'm going to go into this pink shade right there, which I think is called Quicksand. It's a matte shade. It's a little powdery, not super powdery. I'm just gonna put that into my crease instead of my lower crease so I have room to blend it up. Ooh, that is much more pigmented than I expected it to be. Whoa. Okay, well, I did it on one side, I have to even it out on the other, right? It looks pretty strong in real life, I think, again, because I'm not used to doing like crazy eyeshadow looks. What am I gonna blend this out with now? Because everything else in here is a pretty deep kind of shade, and the white that we have in here is like pearlescent, which, I mean, wouldn't be the worst thing. There's no rules for makeup, right? I could... Do I want to do that? Yeah, I think that'll be good. Sorry, talking to myself. I'm going to go into, or maybe this sort of champagne-y color? No, I think this one. I'm going to go into this pearlescent white, which is called Moroccan Ice. On the same brush, which I've sort of gotten most of the color off of, and I'm going to use that to blend higher into my crease. And I know it's a shimmer, it's a satin, it's whatever. Again, no makeup rules. I just do what I want. And what I want to do is sort of tone down that pink a little bit. I mean, I do believe this palette originally came out more around like Christmas time, because I do feel like it's got a little bit more of a winter vibe with a lot of these colors. That's weird. What went kind of, oh, I guess maybe that's just, I feel like something went sort of dark looking there on my crease. I don't know if it's just a weird shadow. I guess so. There we go. I mean, again, I know this is really like low impact on screen, but I like that. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna take this very small pencil brush and go into Spice Trip, which is sort of this brownish burgundy. And put that into sort of the outer V. This is not the kind of way I do my makeup normally. As I said, this is like, I would normally just use blush and highlight on my eyes, but why not? I'm not using the best brushes here, I have to say, because I desperately need to clean my brushes, but I'm just gonna blend that. So I have a little bit of deepness now. I'm gonna add some shimmer to the inner part of my lid, and I'm going to do it with this light shimmery pink here that is called Sahara Stunna, and I'm just gonna do that with my pinky. There we go, I've got a lot of pink going on. I think what I'm gonna do is go back into that very light white color, add just a little highlight in the middle of my lid, and then also use it as my inner corner highlight. And although I'm not usually a lower lash line kind of gal. I'm gonna go into that very first shade that I used there, the matte pink, Quicksand I believe it's called, and just smoke that a little bit along my lower lash line just to bring the look together. I think the colors in here work really well. The mattes seem to work quite nicely. The shimmers and satins seem to work quite nicely. So I guess it's just gonna be a matter of, do you like these kinds of colors? I look at these colors and I think like that blue is gorgeous. Then you have the deeper blue and you know, there's quite a number of golds. And I will say that this gold here is that almost like greenish antique gold, which is gorgeous. But I do think this is more of a winter palette rather than a summer palette. But I would look forward to revisiting this when I want to do just a little bit more of a deeper kind of look. I'm going to do a little bit of liner. I'm going to be using this liner from the brand Scone. This is the Insanely Intense Tattoo Waterproof Eyeliner. This is the second product that I have used before. I have been using this for a little while. I really like this. I was expecting this to just, I don't know, for some reason I wasn't expecting it to work very well. It really does hold in there. It is pretty waterproof and smudge proof as far as a number of eyeliners that I've used. This one is, you know, I'm not worried about using it and then going out and having it end up all over the place. It's pretty good and also pretty matte black for a liner. I'm not gonna be able to talk while I do this, by the way. Usually I have to have like my elbow on a table to do this. So that went on so beautifully and smoothly. And once it dries down, it really is pretty good at being transfer resistant and not smudging. We are in the home stretch. We have mascara, highlighter, and lipstick left to do, so let's do the mascara. I have here the Pretty Vulgar Faux Real Extreme Volume Mascara in Black Swan. I've tested a number of Pretty Vulgar products before. Some I like, some not so much. They definitely have their own aesthetic. It's the little like vintage looking bird patterns. It's not necessarily my thing. I like a much cleaner kind of look, but let's see. So it has a hourglass shaped, I guess would be the better way of saying that, brush. Let's see if I can get some volume. Don't think I had opened this at all before, but it feels very dry. Get back in there. It's doing a really nice job of like separating my lashes. I'd say it's definitely doing like a separating and thickening rather than lengthening. I really do wonder if I had maybe opened this when I first got it to see what the brush looked like. I don't think I did, because it is a very dry formula. I make the worst faces when I'm putting on lower lash mascara, by the way. I'm gonna cover it with the mirror. I mean, the fact that it's so dry actually made that a pretty easy lower lash mascara because it didn't feel like it was gonna touch my skin at all, although I'm so not used to using lower lash mascara that now it's looking like really weird when I look at myself. I'm also not usually a second coat of mascara kind of person, but let me try that on my upper lashes. Ooh, my eyes are looking so heavy from having the lower lash mascara. So not used to that kind of look. Yeah, I mean, that did something. Again, I'm just so not used to having this. I feel like I shouldn't have done the lower lashes. I feel like that's what's throwing me off. So I have two highlighters here. I have the Fenty Beauty by Rihanna Kilowatt Highlighter, which I think is maybe gonna be, it's in Trophy Wife, which I think may be a little too gold for me. And I also have the iconic London Illuminator. Let's use the Illuminator first and just sort of tap that on and see how that looks. Might be way too much. We'll see. That is super pretty. Like, not highlighting any of my texture, but also not like crazy, which I was fully expecting it to be. And also blend it pretty easily. and not moving or removing any of the product underneath. Ooh. Oh my God, that is gorgeous and still strangely subtle. And as I said, like natural and not, oh, I love that. Look at that, that's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna try a little bit of the Kilowatt Highlighter. This may just fire it straight into like gold on my cheeks territory, but let's see. I'm gonna use my same powder brush because I feel like that'll help sort of like disperse it a little bit, but I mean, like, it's not gonna be the highlighter shade for me. Whatever, it's not like I'm going out anywhere for the rest of the day, right? I need a better mirror than that. Okay, so it's definitely yellow. Yeah, like you wouldn't look at me and be like, that is her inner glow coming through. I will say the formula of the Fenty highlighter is gorgeous. This just isn't the shade for me, but that iconic London Illuminator, beautiful. I'm so looking forward to playing around more with that. Now to finish our look, I'm going in with another Fenty Beauty product. This is the Mademoiselle Plush Matte Lipstick in the shade Shawty. And this should be more of like a deep kind of color. So I think what I'm gonna do is put a little bit on and tap it around with my finger. That's what I do when I'm not looking for a super bold color, but I still want like the tone of what the lip color is. Actually, this works pretty well just sort of like tapping on itself. Like I feel like if I went in and like pressed down and moved it around, it would give me a lot of like intense color, but to be able to do sort of a blotted look, ooh, that's really pretty. This with then a gloss over top of it, I think would be gorgeous. And I do love the Fenty packaging. Yeah, that works really well as a blotted lip. Okay, zoom in a bit for the final look. So I'd say that my favorite products out of this, I feel like I want to test the primer a little bit more. I really liked how it was hydrating, but yet also felt a little bit grippy. And that was the Tarte Quench primer. The foundation was fine, but on first impression, considering it's a Dior product, so it's probably crazy expensive, it was a little bit more matte and just didn't make my skin look way more fabulous than a number of CoverGirl foundations that I've tried, so I'm on the fence about that one. The concealer again and the powder I think are both pretty standard formulas. Same with the blush. I wasn't upset with any of them, but none of them were like, wow, you need to go out and get this. I like the formula a lot of the eyeshadow. I'm just not super an eyeshadow kind of girl, but if you like those kinds of tones, the sort of jewel tones, and it's something you would want for like the winter season, they seem to perform pretty well. I really like the eyeliner, and as I mentioned, that is the Scone Insanely Intense Tattooed Liner in Jet Black. I do find this to be waterproof. I find it to last really well and go on really well and just be a really nice deep matte black. The mascara, I'm very curious if mine did dry out a little bit. I quite like it. It ended up being a little bit more feathery than I expected it to be, which I really like in a mascara. I would say the standout winner for me today is the Illuminator from Iconic London. I expected this to be like way over the top and hard to use, but it looked gorgeous tapped on over my powder products, and a little bit goes such a long way and looks like so intense but like natural at the same time. This is gorgeous. I like the formula of the Fenty highlighter. Just wasn't my shade, but I am pleasantly surprised with the lip product. I thought this was going to be like really deep on me and hard to blend out, but it looks so nice as a blotted lip. And I will say as well that the Fenty lip glosses, like I have the lip gloss in my bathroom because I use it all the time, even if I'm not going out. It's just so lovely and moisturizing and smells so nice that that gloss over this as a blotted lip is gorgeous. And as I mentioned, this is in this shade Shoddy. So if you're looking for it, that's what that is. So thank you so much for joining me today for this. I really enjoy playing around with this. It's so hard for me to have like really black or white first opinions on things. I guess if I like super loved it or super hate it, I can tell you that, but like the foundation, the powder, the blush, the concealer, all of that stuff is hard for me to say like, yes, you should get it, or no, you shouldn't. Like, they seem to be fine so far. Let me zoom out so we can talk properly. I know this was a long video, so thank you so much for joining me for this today. If you like this Faceful First Impressions, please give this a thumbs up. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye.